Today, we're diving into a really powerful and maybe even provocative idea from the Raft Freedom Program. It all starts with a statement that might sound a little harsh at first, but it's presented as the absolute first step you have to take to find real freedom. Let's get into it. Does this sound familiar? I mean, it's a pretty universal human thing, right? We all have these go-to habits, these ways we try to manage pain or discomfort. But sometimes, those very things we do to feel better are exactly what keep us trapped. This explainer is all about getting to the bottom of that struggle and how just seeing it clearly can be a complete game changer.
So let's talk about that cycle. What the Raft program really hones in on is how our natural reaction to life's difficulties can, get us stuck. We fall into these patterns of escape and self-sabotage. We're just trying to avoid feeling bad, but it ends up creating this negative loop that just makes things worse in the long run.
So, how do we break that cycle? Well, the program gives us this brilliant metaphor. Think about it. Before you can build a raft to get to a safer place, you first have to get a really good, honest look at the dangerous shore you're currently standing on. You have to understand your situation, right here and now. That's the first step of the whole journey. Okay, so what is this dangerous shore? What's the fundamental truth we need to face? The RAFT program grounds this entire journey in one core, unflinching realization about the nature of life itself. There it is. Just let that sit for a second. Now, this isn't meant to be a pessimistic dead end, not at all. It's actually presented as the first reality we have to recognize if we have any hope of finding our way to a more peaceful shore.
And that's the natural first thought, isn't it? Wow, that's kind of bleak. But the point here isn't to make you feel hopeless. It's about being realistic. It's about adjusting our expectations so we aren't constantly knocked over every time something goes wrong. It's about seeing the ground clearly so we can finally build something solid on it.
And this is where the perspective really flips. The program brings in this amazing quote from Tara Brach to reframe the whole idea. Our vulnerability to pain, it isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature of being human. It's not some personal flaw we have to fix. In fact, it's the very soil where things like compassion and wisdom can actually begin to grow.
To help us understand this terrain even better, the Raft program introduces a concept from ancient wisdom that you may have heard of, Dukkha. It gives us a much more nuanced way of looking at all these difficulties that are just part of life. So, Dukkha is often translated simply as suffering, but it's so much more than that. It's that whole spectrum of unsatisfactoriness, stress, and general discomfort. The RAFT program uses this perfect analogy. Think of life as a cart with a wobbly, ill-fitting axle. The ride is just naturally going to be bumpy. The goal isn't to pretend the bumps aren't there, but to understand them so we can navigate the ride with a bit more skill.
And Gotama the Buddha actually broke dukkha down into these incredibly relatable categories. I mean, look at this list. You have the big, unavoidable ones: aging, getting sick, death. Then you have the deep emotional pain, sorrow, grief. And then there's the everyday stuff, being stuck with things you don't like, being separated from what you do like, and that constant nagging feeling of just not getting what you want. Sounds familiar? These aren't personal failures. They're universal human experiences.
Okay, so life is a bumpy ride. Now what? What do we actually do with that information? This is the crucial turning point. The program draws a really important line in the sand between just giving up and actually seeing things clearly.
And this is so important. We are aiming for recognition, not resignation. They sound similar, but they're worlds apart. Resignation is hopelessness. It's passive. It's just feeling stuck. But recognition, that's an active process. It brings clarity, it brings motivation. You see, acknowledging the reality of the dangerous shore is actually an act of empowerment. It's what gives you the reason, the motivation to finally start building your raft. And that brings us finally to the raft itself. This whole act of recognition we've been talking about is the very first piece of a structured, actionable path that can lead you toward freedom. Let's see how it all fits together.
So, RAFT is actually an acronym. It stands for Recognize, Abandon, Freedom, and Train. And you've probably guessed it by now, but this entire explainer, everything we've discussed about the bumpy ride, about dukkha, about choosing recognition, has been focused on that first, absolutely critical stage, recognize.
It's the foundation the entire journey is built on.
And maybe the best part of all of this is that you can explore this whole journey for yourself. The entire Raft to Freedom workbook, which this explainer is based on, is available completely free online. You can find it at rafttofreedom.org.
You know, the whole program is shared under what's called a Creative Commons license. And what that really means is that it's designed to be shared, it's meant to be accessible, to be passed around, so it can help as many people as possible understand these ideas without any barriers.
So if there's one idea to take away from all this, it's this. Having the courage to recognize reality, to look at life's painful, difficult, and disappointing parts without flinching. That isn't an act of pessimism. It's the first and maybe the most powerful step toward building a life of real, genuine freedom. So the question to leave you with is, what part of the bumpy ride are you willing to truly recognize today?